भारत की सीमाओं के अंदर तक ही सिमटे नहीं हैं। हमने कई देशों, विशेष रूप से अफ्रीका के देशों में टेलीमेडिसिन द्वारा एफोर्डेबल हेल्थ केयर की एक्सेस बढ़ाने में सहयोग किया है और आगे भी करते रहेंगे।
Good health is everyone's right, and the Modi government is doing all it can to ensure this becomes a reality. The approach is a holistic one, encompassing Swachhta or cleanliness, preventive health care that stems from our ancient roots, as well as ensuring access to all to cutting-edge health care. With Munmun Bhattacharya, Ashok Srivastav's report, DD News, New York.
Deepening ties between India and Namibia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a bilateral meeting with Namibian President Hage Geingob on the sidelines of the UNGA. The two leaders stressed on the great potential for strengthening the partnership between the two countries. All right, let's right now go over live to New York, where the Secretary East is addressing a press conference.
Give you a sense of what happened today. Prime Minister had attended 3 UN-related meetings. The first was on UN Summit on Climate Change. We have shared a copy of the speech as well as a press release with all of you. The second was the high-level meeting on universal health coverage. Again, we have shared the speech and press release. And in the evening, Prime Minister attended a leaders' dialogue on strategic response to terrorists and violent extremists. Throughout the day, Prime Minister also had 6 bilateral meetings with the Amir of Qatar, President of Niger, Prime Minister of Italy, Executive Director of UNICEF, President of Namibia, and President of Maldives. But other than Prime Minister's engagement, we also have the External Affairs Minister in town and the Minister of State for External Affairs. EAM had 11 meetings, 11 bilateral meetings, and I will just list out the countries for you. Iran, Cote d'Ivoire, Guyana, Bulgaria, Turkey, Netherlands, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Equatorial Guinea, and UAE. He also had a meeting with the US Special Envoy on Afghanistan. MOS attended the SICA breakfast meeting earlier today morning, which was hosted by Tajikistan. So overall, I think we are looking at almost 20-25 interactions between the Prime Minister, External Affairs Minister, and MOS throughout the day. So a very hectic engagement for all of them. I have with me Secretary West, who will brief you all on the UN-related engagements, and then I'll come back to give you a sense about what transpired in the bilateral meetings of the Prime Minister. I also have Sanjay Rana, who is Joint Secretary UNP, and after his remarks, after we are done, then we will take some questions from the floor. Sir, over to you.
Good evening to you, and welcome to this briefing. Today was, as mentioned to you, this was the first day of the multilateral UN part of the visit to the United States, and Prime Minister, he participated in the Climate Action Summit. He was in fact one of the leading speakers at the summit. He was along with Sweden. India and Sweden are part of the industrial transition track as co-leaders. PM in his presentation, he underlined India's practical approach and roadmap towards increasing use of renewables to address the climate issue. His speech was received with great interest. He highlighted increasing focus on biofuels, compressed biogas, and boosting electric mobility. The other initiatives he spoke on was clean cooking gas, which has impacted on millions of families and women and children. He also talked about Jal Shakti Abhiyan for water conservation targeted at solving the water crisis situation. In his presentation, he talked about the need for the private sector and the governments to cooperate in the area of technology innovation and developing low carbon technologies and processes. He proposed the launching of a leadership group in this context, which would provide that kind of encouragement to governments and private sectors to work closely together. And again, he spoke on one theme which has become increasingly relevant and important, that about India's decision to end the use of single-use plastic, which will have a global impact. Prime Minister announced the launch of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, which is aimed at assisting countries to develop their own infrastructure disaster resilient, and invited countries to join this coalition. Interestingly and significantly, when we're talking about climate issue, India has actually contributed to a project to install rooftop solar panels at the UN building itself. So renewable energy begins right here in the UN complex at a cost of US dollars 1 million. India has funded this project, and just to mention that this will be formally inaugurated tomorrow at the commemorative event to mark the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. This event is being organized in the UN complex. Prime Minister also participated in the first ever UN General Assembly high-level meeting on universal health coverage. He did speak about the Ayushman Bharat initiative to provide for affordable health care. You would be aware that this is the world's largest health care insurance scheme, under which 500 million people could avail free treatment worth up to rupees 5 lakhs annually. And there are also special pharmacies to provide medicines at affordable prices. While you are aware, this Prime Minister mentioned and conveyed this to the high-level audience because the sheer scale is mind-boggling, and if there is any conversation on universal health coverage, a scheme like this has very, very special relevance. Prime Minister also informed about the National Nutrition Plan, Poshan. He mentioned about India's commitment to eliminate tuberculosis by 2025, 5 years ahead of the global goal of 2030. And he also spoke about the need to ensure quality medical insurance and medical infrastructure development. So therefore, in short, on the universal health coverage segment, he outlined that India has actually initiated several practical measures, and we have also very significant goals which will hugely impact on this global target of providing universal health coverage. So India, with its scale and magnitude, provides those numbers which will make this global campaign definitely go in the right direction. In the afternoon, Prime Minister Modi attended the Leaders' Dialogue to discuss strategic responses to terrorist and violent extremist narratives. This took stock of the Christchurch call to action to eliminate terrorist and violent extremist content online. India has supported the Christchurch call to sanitize cyberspace from contents which promote and eulogize terrorism, hate and violence. Friends, I would like to mention to you that India's rising stature and strong democratic credentials increasingly resonate in multilateral fora, and very much exemplified by French President Emmanuel Macron's opening statement, where he expressed appreciation for India's association with the Christchurch call, particularly as a democracy that represents over 1 billion people. So I repeat that French President Emmanuel Macron, in his opening statement, he expressed association for India's association with the Christchurch call as a democracy representing over 1 billion people. So that he mentioned that takes this entire initiative to new levels and gives it a greater sense of action towards dealing with extremist and terrorist content and the use of online techniques. In his intervention, Prime Minister Modi called for qualitative upgradation in the ongoing cooperation and intelligence sharing through bilateral and regional frameworks. He suggested institutionalizing counter-terrorism cooperation at the multilateral level. He said India will work towards enhancing ongoing cooperation in capacity building of friendly countries in this area. Prime Minister said that terrorists should not be allowed to get funds and arms. For this objective to be realized, we need to avoid politicization of mechanisms like UN listings and FATF. These mechanisms need to be enforced and strengthened. Sharing India's experience, he said that democratic values, diversity and inclusive development were the most important weapons against ideologies that promote terrorism, extremism and radicalism. Prime Minister called for global solidarity and readiness against terrorism in the same way as the world has shown solidarities against challenges like climate change. He said a terrorist attack anywhere in the world should be considered as terrorism, not good or bad terrorism, not more or not less. So that, friends, is an overview of PM's presence at the United Nations on day number 1. And once again to reiterate that India's rising stature, both as a democracy, both as a major influential country, that came out very strongly in all the 3 events that he attended. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I take you through the 6 bilateral meetings where Prime Minister participated, these are meetings on the sidelines, and I would like to underline that it is not possible to have a detailed discussion on each and every aspect of the relationship. Bilateral agenda was the focus. The first meeting was with the Amir of Qatar. There have been regular exchanges of visits taking place between the 2 countries. Amir expressed his gratitude to the Indian diaspora for their role in supporting the economy of the country. Some discussion also took place on the cooperation in counter-terrorism against the backdrop of the situation in the region. The second meeting was with the Niger President. You are aware that Prime Minister had met the Niger President on the sidelines of ISA summit a couple of years back. We have granted an assistance of $35 million for the construction of Mahatma Gandhi International Convention Center in Niamey. The project is nearing completion. President of Niger did invite the Prime Minister to attend the inaugural ceremony as and when this is done. Prime Minister said that the diplomatic channels of the 2 countries should get in touch on this matter. The Niger President also raised the issue of cooperation in agriculture sector, in solar energy. He said that India has a lot of experience in these 2 areas, and some discussion took place as to how to take it forward. There was a suggestion which came out that a task force could be established to look into this area, and counter-terrorism cooperation also came up for discussion. A need was felt to coordinate and synergize the position between the 2 countries as we face the common threat of terrorism. With the Italian Prime Minister congratulated him on his reappointment. You are aware that he visited India last year, and the focus of discussion basically was on the follow-up to the understandings which was reached during his visit. The economic cooperation was the main area which was discussed. How can we expand trade? How can we, further bilateral investment? Prime Minister invited the Italian SMEs, the Italian companies, to use the low-cost production in India and invest in India under the Make India initiative. There was also some discussion on defense cooperation, not much, but yes, it did figure in the discussion. The fourth meeting was with the UNICEF director. We have completed 70 years of cooperation with UNICEF. Prime Minister highlighted some of the initiatives of the Government of India which is supporting children. For example, he did mention about Jan Jeevan Suraksha. He talked about Indradhanush, which is a targeted program on preventive health. This is on vaccination. He also mentioned about Poshan, which has a very strong focus on nutrition in children. The fifth meeting was with the President of Namibia. Again, mostly the focus was on bilateral cooperation. The Namibian President thanked Prime Minister for the assistance which India provided during the drought in that country. And just before coming here, the last meeting was with the President of Maldives. You are aware that Prime Minister chose Maldives as the first country to visit after his re-election for the second term. The progress on the developmental cooperation, several projects which are ongoing in Maldives, that was discussed. There was also some discussion on cooperation in cricket. There is a proposal for training the Maldivian cricketers in India, and that training actually is going to start next month in October. And some discussion also took place about a cricket stadium which is supposed to come up in Maldives. We asked them for a detailed project report so that India can look at the project and decide on its future course of action. So these are the 6 bilateral meetings. I will briefly run you through the program tomorrow before I open the floor to questions. We start off with a bilateral meeting with the US President at 12:15 hours. At 15:30 hours, we have India Pacific Leaders Meeting. 16:30 hours, we have Gandhi at 150 event. And the last event of tomorrow will be the Goalkeepers Global Goals 2019 Award by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So that is at 8:10 p.m. So this is what we have for tomorrow, and now if you have any questions, we'll be happy to take them. Yeah, Suhasini.
I just wanted to refer you to the... Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
If I could just refer you to the comments by US President Trump this morning in a conversation along with the Pakistani Prime Minister. He actually said 3 times, used the word aggressive, referring to Prime Minister Modi's statements yesterday, and said that he was not expecting the statements that Prime Minister Modi had made. I was wondering if you had any kind of a response to that, and just a clarification, did the Prime Minister mention the comprehensive cooperation on international terror during the session today? Because we didn't hear the CCIT being referred to.
Is it in the speech?
In general, yes. I mean, not in exact phrase, but yeah.
Yeah.
He just said on multilateral.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there other questions on similar topic? No. On India-US? Broadly.
Basically, yeah, it's just linked up, yeah.
No, will it answer this if I answer to what Suhasini asked, or do you have a different question?
Yeah.
Huh?
प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप ने आज फिर से कहा है कि अगर भारत और पाकिस्तान चाहें तो वो मध्यस्थता करने को तैयार है कश्मीर पे।
ये तो वही सवाल है सर, आप जवाब देना चाहेंगे?
Well, I think there is a meeting tomorrow between Prime Minister and US President. So let us wait for the meeting.
Manish.
So Prime Minister had 6 bilateral meetings, and EM had 11 bilateral
Yes.
meetings. And although we have said that Prime Minister will not speak about Kashmir in his UNGA speech, at least as of now, but were there questions, were there any clarifications sought? Was this a conversation at all with his interlocutors, both with the PM's interlocutors as well as EM's interlocutors? And my second question is on international conference, that strategic session on terrorism. Did it culminate in any joint program of de-radicalization or something, or was it just primarily a kind of exploratory exercise?
Well, on the terrorism side, this Christchurch initiative, the Christchurch statement, and that is an evolving area. It's a kind of process which involves the supervision of online content in a way that extremist and terrorist tendencies don't find channels to disseminate this kind of material. So it cannot happen in one go, but it's I think the entry of the presence of India, especially as a large IT nation and as a country, as a democratic country, I think that was strongly welcomed. So this is a process of evolution. It will take time. There are several issues which involves in digital space. You are aware, between freedom and between supervision, there has to be a balance. So I think it would be, we wouldn't have expected a declaration so early, but I think it is moving in the right direction.
No, Manish, I did mention that the focus of discussion was bilateral ties. But yes, I mean, in couple of meetings, the situation in the region did come up. You are aware that on the situation in J&K, we have engaged with several countries at different levels. But given the nature of the meeting on the sidelines, the focus was mainly on bilateral relationship. Yes, please.
Mr. Seema Sirohi, Mr. Sharma, if I could press on the question of this flip-flop on mediation, surely the Ministry of External Affairs has given it more thought that, Trump keeps raising the question of mediation. So tomorrow's bilateral meeting is not going to resolve it, because it seems so. He keeps going back to it. How do you read this?
You see, the Secretary's response is after giving some thought. You are aware about our position. We have mentioned about this in the past. But my request is just hold on. Just hold on for the meeting tomorrow. I think it's not very far. And we do intend to immediately hold a briefing after that, where all the queries which you have on this topic will be answered. No, I think you know that the format, how it happens, that at the beginning of the meeting, normally there are few questions which are taken by both the leaders.
Did you take some media people with you?
That we are working on. You have access restrictions.
Apart from Doordarshan and
No, we are trying to sort it out. The numbers are of course big here, so we will have to see how to work that out. Naveen?
What will be the composition of tomorrow's meeting, sir? Will trade ministers or trade secretary will be representing, because in the Howdy event they have indicated that they will talk about the impending issues of trade.
Naveen, let us not prejudge what is going to happen. The delegation is pretty standard. But I think let's just hold on. I think all the questions related to that bilateral meeting will be answered after that. Yeah. Pranay?
So Prime Minister a few months ago raised the issue of, he invited all the world leaders to attend to have a global convention on terrorism. Did he mention this issue in the leaders' dialogue, or did he take up this issue with other leaders?
Yeah.
Yeah. It had come.
Yes.
Yes, there was a mention of global conference on terrorism. That is something that he has mentioned as you said, a few months back. So he did draw reference to that. But there some work has to be done towards realizing that. So we work with friendly countries towards that objective. It has to be very carefully done to go in the right direction. So I believe we are preparing for that, yes.
Siddhant?
So you just mentioned that Prime Minister said that there should not be any politicization of UN listing or about FATF. Is this a message for specific countries who have been mentioning that India has been trying to put them into the blacklist?
Well, I think the messaging is that terrorism is a global issue and we need to join hands and combat it. I think to draw very kind of a political message, that itself I think is probably looking in the wrong way at the messaging. What he's trying to convey is that no country is immune to the threat of terror. So let's all work together and let's not differentiate between this kind of terror and that kind of terror. So I think that's so he's actually saying that let's not be get into very political ways while analyzing and dealing and approaching terrorism.
राकेश जी?
एक ग्रुप 4 एक बना था यूएनएससी में परमानेंट सीट के लिए, ग्रुप 4 का 4 कंट्री का समूह, तो उस पे क्या लेटेस्ट उसका डेवलपमेंट है? और दूसरा कि प्रधानमंत्री के इस दौरे में जो 6-7 दिन का दौरा है उस पे कुछ प्रधानमंत्री बोलेंगे, प्रकाश डालेंगे, या जो यूएनएससी में परमानेंट सीट के लिए की बात है उस पर कहीं कोई चर्चा है या कहीं इस पर कोई ऐसा?
नहीं, ये तो जो यूएन रिफॉर्म्स जो है इस पर भी काम चल रहा है, थोड़ा सा इस पर और देशों के साथ भी बातचीत चल रही है, एक प्रोसेस भी है, इंटरगवर्नमेंटल प्रोसेस भी है इस तो, लेकिन ये अगर समझना कि 1 दिन में या 2 दिन में या 10 दिन में हो जाएगा तो, लेकिन हम लोग जो हैं G4 के माध्यम से इसको आगे बढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। बहुत से देश हैं जो ये सहमत हैं कि जो आज का संयुक्त राष्ट्र है उसमें कुछ जो है खामियां हैं, क्योंकि जो 45 में इसकी स्थापना हुई थी और आज में फ़र्क है, जो हमारा वर्ल्ड है काफ़ी हद तक बदल चुका है। तो वो सहमति है, लेकिन किस तरह से रिफॉर्म करना है, लक्ष्य तक कैसे पहुंचना है, इस सब पर सहमति अभी बनना बाकी है। लेकिन जो भी जैसे भी विस्तार हो सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल का या परमानेंट या नॉन परमानेंट में, तो हमारी उम्मीद है कि भारत के लिए ज़रूर एक्सपेंडेड यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में एक जगह तो होना आवश्यक है, खासकर हमारा जो एक तो हमारे पॉपुलेशन को देखते हुए, प्लस हमारा जो पोटेंशियल भी है इंडस्ट्रियल, इकोनॉमिक, एवरी अदर काइंड ऑफ पोटेंशियल। तो हम तो यही उम्मीद करते हैं कि जो G4 का जो हम लोग उनके साथ काम कर रहे हैं और देशों के साथ भी हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो कई देश समर्थन करते हैं भारत को इस मामले में। तो जब पहुंचेगा उस सही दिशा में जाएगा तो ज़रूर, लेकिन अभी इस वक्त मेरे ख्याल से अगर कोई समय के बारे में बात करना थोड़ा सा प्रीमेच्योर होगा इसमें। तो यूएन प्रोसेसेस जारी हैं, इसमें इतना आश्वासन आपको देते हैं।
राकेश जी, इस बारे में सिर्फ एक ऐड करना चाहूँगा कि 25 तारीख को जो G4 फॉरेन मिनिस्टर्स की मीटिंग होगी जो हर साल होती है, और उसमें इस मामले में नॉर्मली जो एक्सचेंज ऑफ व्यूज़ होता है वो होगा।
सर, 27 को जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर जनरल असेंबली को एड्रेस करेंगे, पाकिस्तान का टर्न उसके बाद में है, पाकिस्तान भारत के बाद में बोलेगा, तो क्या राइट टू रिप्लाई में भारत उसका उसी दिन जवाब देगा?
आई थिंक उस पर आज बात करना मेरे ख्याल से सही नहीं है, लेकिन जब हम अपना स्टेटमेंट देते हैं तो मेरे ख्याल से किसी एक देश पर फोकस्ड नहीं है। हमारा वर्ल्ड विजन है, हमारा जो अप्रोच है इंटरनेशनल अफेयर्स पर, तो हम तो उसको सामने रखेंगे जनरली जब होता है. अगर आप सोच रहे हैं कि किसी एक देश पर फोकस रहेगा, ऐसा कहना या सोचना या अपेक्षा करना मेरे ख्याल से सही नहीं होगा. इस
सुभजीत.
Few questions on EM's meetings. One with the U.S. envoy on Afghanistan. This was, I think, the first engagement after the talks were called off. Was there a discussion on the implication of that particular decision taken by the U.S.? Number two, on Turkey, was there discussion on the Kashmir issue, on their statements that have come after the Article 370 revocation? And third, with Qatar, was the issue of Kashmir discussed?
Subhajit, I do not have details of EM's meeting because I was not present in the meeting. I was present in the meeting with Qatar. As I mentioned that, some discussion took place in the context of counter-terrorism, and against the backdrop of regional situation. I would not like to really specify to what extent each topic was discussed, each element was discussed. EM has been tweeting. I think he has shared, what was discussed in most of the meetings. I understand that with Qatar, again, the focus was primarily on a bilateral relationship. But as and when I get more details about all these meetings, he has been busy 11 meetings in a day. And then I'll be in a position to share those details with you. Thank you. Yes, please.
So is there a possibility of a deal or understanding with the US on trade issues tomorrow?
Look, I'll take you back to the meeting between Prime Minister and President Trump, where there was a broad understanding that the differences in trade has to be addressed. It needs to be addressed quickly. And that is the direction which was given. Discussions are taking place. At this stage, for me to say where we are on that would be a bit premature. Let us wait. I think it's a matter of time now, I think, and then we will have something definitely for you tomorrow. जी पूछिए. देखिए, ये इस पे मैं हर बार बोलता हूँ कि क्या होगी बातचीत, ये मैं कल ही बता पाऊंगा. आपको पता है कि मुझे लग रहा है कि जैसा और हमने पहले ही बताया, फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी ने हर बार जब भी मीटिंग हुई उसके बाद जो ब्रीफिंग हुई है, फोकस प्राइमरीली बायलैटरल रिलेशनशिप पे रहता है. यूएस के साथ हमारी जब बात होती है तो रीजनल ग्लोबल सिचुएशन भी डिस्कस होता है. बट कौन कितना डिस्कस होगा, वो फ्लो ऑफ कन्वर्सेशन के साथ हमें देखना पड़ेगा. इस समय ये बताना कि एग्जैक्टली क्या क्या होगा वो थोड़ा प्रीमेच्योर हो जाएगा इस समय.
सीका की मीटिंग का आपने जिक्र किया, तो आज उसमें विदेश राज्य मंत्री और पाकिस्तान के विदेश मंत्री शाह महमूद कुरैशी दोनों थे. तो क्या दोनों के बीच वहां पर क्या कुछ हुआ, क्या उनका फोकस पॉइंट था सीका की मीटिंग में? इंडियन जो एमओएस थे उन्होंने क्या पॉइंट रखा?
देखो, एक तो ये है कि जो ये मीटिंग ब्रेकफास्ट मीटिंग थी, और इसका जैसा मैंने जिक्र किया कि ये this was being chaired by ताजिकिस्तान. और जो हमारा फोकस है काउंटर टेररिज्म पे, बेसिकली उसी को रखा गया सामने. और पाकिस्तान की तरफ से जो उनको कहना था उन्होंने कहा. ये ओपन मीटिंग थी नहीं, और इसीलिए उसके बारे में मुझे ज़्यादा जानकारी मैं दे नहीं सकता है. बट उनका जो फिलहाल रुख है ऐसे मीटिंग्स में हर समय जो जाके जो बोलना होता है, वो उसी टाइप की बयानबाजी कर रहे हैं. बट हमारा, जैसे सेक्रेटरी ने बताया, कि एक ग्लोबल विजन है और हमारा एक सिंगल कंट्री फोकस नहीं है, बट हमारा फोकस काउंटर टेररिज्म पर है और कैसे बाकी सारे देश हमारे साथ मिलके इस मुहिम के लिए काम कर सकते हैं, उस पर फोकस था हमारा. Yes, you already asked, but you can ask another one.
No, my basic curiosity is about the meeting which our foreign minister Iranian counterpart. And why this is so significant is that Iran has taken a position on Kashmir, which is clearly not to our expectations.
Manish, I do not have the details, as and when I get details. But let me tell you that there are certain aspects of bilateral meetings which we will not share publicly. You see, there are certain discussions taking place, but I will not get into details of each and every point which has been discussed. Broadly, I said bilateral relationship. In some cases, we have been engaging with other countries on to explain our position. That was done as and when required. That is how the bilateral meetings panned out.
Was the Howdy Modi event discussed during any of the bilateral?
Not really. I think there was some references, when Prime Minister did mention that yesterday he was in Houston, but it was a very passing reference. I don't remember, but I think in one or two cases, it's more like an opening statement which you say, when you just get into the bilateral meeting, you do mention, exchange some pleasantries, and it was part of exchange of pleasantries between the two leaders. जी जी बिल्कुल.
मेरा नाम प्रोफेसर इंद्रजीत सरगुजा, इंडियन पैनोरमा फ्रॉम द सर्विस.
माइक दे दीजिए.
माइक के बिना काम चल जाएगा.
नहीं, अब उधर रिकॉर्ड होगा ना फिर.
My question to you all is, yesterday the Prime Minister very enthusiastically endorsed Trump for presidency in 2020. Is that what India really means, that this man should be the President of America in 2020?
You see, I think you will have to go and go through what he exactly said. It is not for me to qualify a statement, but I think you will get your answer if you go through the transcript of his speech. That will clarify the question which you have asked, and we can discuss it later. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you very much. First day in New York, and thank you all for joining.
Yes. Purvanchal side, but you came to Purvanchal, right?
Ministry of External Affairs press conference that was from New York, and the spokesperson there talked of the meetings the Prime Minister had with various leaders. Prime Minister participated in 6 bilateral meetings with leaders. Also, the External Affairs Minister also had 11 bilateral meetings. The Prime Minister participated in the UN Climate Change Summit, and he also, in other engagements, informed about the efforts made by the Indian government in providing efficient and effective healthcare to the people and to the children. Also, when we talk of the engagements, the Prime Minister will have a bilateral with President Trump today, and these were the bilateral meetings he had with various leaders. Remember, Prime Minister is in New York for the second leg of his US visit, and he's participating in the UNGA, and he will address the UNGA session. That was it about the press conference put forth by Ministry of External Affairs. In a while from now, in the bulletins that follow, we will get you particular details about the meetings and what all happened in the meetings which the Prime Minister had with other leaders, and also the bilateral meetings in which the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar participated. As of now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.